When someone ignores you, especially someone you're interested in, it stings. It triggers all kinds of thoughts. What did I do wrong? Am I not enough? Should I try harder? But here's the truth. It's not about you. It's about where your focus is. The biggest mistake people make is putting their self-worth in the hands of someone else. When you allow someone's attention or lack of it to dictate your emotions, you're handing over your power. That's not leadership. That's not confidence. That's reacting instead of owning your life. Let's talk about something that throws so many people off their game: being ignored. It's frustrating, confusing, and can shake your confidence if you let it. You start questioning yourself. Did I say something wrong? Am I not interesting enough? Should I try harder? But that's the wrong focus. The moment you let someone else's actions dictate how you feel about yourself, you're giving away your power. And in life, in relationships, in business, power is everything. If someone is ignoring you, it's not a signal to chase. It's a signal to shift. The problem isn't that she's ignoring you. The problem is that you're focusing on the wrong thing. See, most people make the mistake of thinking, how do I make her notice me? How do I get her attention back? But if you're thinking that way, you've already lost. Because the moment you seek validation from someone else, you're operating from a place of scarcity, from neediness. And neediness is unattractive in every area of life. You have to start thinking differently. You have to start thinking in terms of abundance. Think about the people you respect the most, the people you admire. Do they sit around worrying about who's giving them attention? Do they chase people who don't value them? Absolutely not. They're too busy living at a high level. They're building, they're growing, they're leading. And because of that, people are naturally drawn to them. So when a woman ignores you, instead of spiraling into self-doubt, ask yourself a better question. Am I showing up as the most powerful version of myself? Am I living with purpose? Am I so locked into my mission, my passion, my growth that I don't even have time to be concerned with whether someone is giving me attention? Because when you live like that, you become magnetic. People don't ignore you when you're moving forward with energy and confidence. They're too intrigued by what you're creating. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about playing games or pretending not to care. This isn't about manipulation or trying to make someone jealous. That's low-level thinking. This is about self-respect, about raising your standards. Because if someone isn't recognizing your value, that's not a loss. It's clarity. It's a sign that they're not for you. And that's a gift. Because the moment you truly believe in your own value, you stop trying to convince anyone else of it. So what do? You refocus. You reframe. You take that energy you were wasting on overanalyzing, on worrying, on chasing, and you pour it into something meaningful. Your health, your business, your passion. You wake up every day and ask yourself, how can I become stronger, smarter, more disciplined, more driven? Because when you do that, something powerful happens. Your energy shifts. You stop feeling like you need someone to validate you, and that's when you become truly attractive. And here's the irony. When you stop chasing, when you stop seeking approval, people start paying attention. Not because you're trying to get their attention, but because you're living in a way that commands it. There's nothing more compelling than someone who is fully engaged in their own life, someone who is on fire for what they're building. That's what makes people want to be around you. Not because you begged for their attention, but because you showed them through your actions that you are someone worth noticing. Now, some people hear this and think, so I just ignore her back? That's still reacting to her. That's still letting her behavior control you. What you do is simple. You keep moving forward. You respect yourself enough to know that your time, your energy, your focus is too valuable to waste on someone who isn't showing up for you. And when you start living this way, when you start making decisions based on strength instead of insecurity, everything changes. The right people come into your life, the wrong people fade away, and you stop wasting a single second trying to get validation from anyone but yourself. Because at the end of the day, confidence isn't about being noticed. It's about knowing who you are, what you bring to the table, and never letting someone else's actions shake that. When you live with that mindset, you don't just attract the right people, you build a life that's so powerful, so fulfilling, that whether someone notices you or not becomes completely irrelevant. It can make you question your own worth. You start thinking, did I do something wrong? Should I try harder? Should I change who I am? But that's the trap. That's the mindset that keeps people stuck, chasing validation instead of owning their power. The second you let someone else's attention or lack of it determine how you feel about yourself, you've already lost. because now you're not in control. Now you're reacting instead of leading. And leaders don't chase, they attract. If a woman ignores you, your instinct might be to do more. Send another message, try to prove your worth, figure out what went wrong and fix it. But stop for a second and ask yourself, why am I giving so much energy to someone who isn't giving energy back? The answer is simple, because you're making it about her. And that's the real problem. The issue isn't that she's ignoring you. The issue is that your focus is in the wrong place. The moment you start thinking, how do I get her attention? You're already at a disadvantage, because that's a mindset of scarcity. It's coming from a place of, I need this person to see my value in order for me to feel valuable. And that energy repels attraction. It makes you look uncertain, unsure of yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, why would anyone else? Confidence isn't about being liked. It's not about getting attention. It's about knowing who you are and moving forward with or without someone's approval. The most attractive people aren't the ones chasing. They're the ones living with such purpose, such passion, that people want to be around them, because energy is magnetic. And when you're focused on your mission, on your growth, on becoming the strongest version of yourself, you naturally draw people in. Not by begging for attention, but by commanding it through your actions. And here's the thing, when you stop reacting emotionally to being ignored, you become even more powerful, because now you're in control. You're not waiting for someone else to validate you. You're not letting someone else dictate your mood, your confidence, your self-worth. You're mastering your emotions, and that's what separates those who thrive from those who struggle. Think about the most successful, charismatic, respected people in the world. Do they sit around wondering why someone isn't texting them back? Do they waste their energy trying to win over someone who isn't giving them the time of day? They're too busy building, creating, leading. They're focused on their mission. And because of that, people naturally gravitate toward them. So if someone ignores you, take it as feedback, not as a personal attack. It's information. It's a sign that either they're not interested or they're not the right person for where you're going. Either way, it's not your job to convince them otherwise. Your job is to keep moving forward, to keep leveling up, to become so focused on your own path that whether someone acknowledges you or not becomes completely irrelevant. And here's the irony. When you truly embrace this mindset, when you genuinely stop caring about whether or not someone is paying attention to you, that's when people start paying attention. Not because you played some game, but because confidence, certainty, and purpose are impossible to ignore. It's about abundance. When you live from a place of abundance, you stop fixating on one person. You stop seeing rejection or being ignored as a failure. You start seeing it as a filter, an opportunity to focus on the right people, the right opportunities, the right path. Because the truth is, the moment you start believing in your own worth, you stop trying to convince anyone else of it. You walk into every situation knowing that you bring value. And if someone doesn't see it, that's okay. That's their loss, not yours. But most people never reach this level because they're too caught up in emotional reactions. They let their feelings control them instead of taking control of their feelings. And the problem with that is simple. When you live in reaction mode, you're always one step behind. You're always trying to adjust to someone else's behavior instead of setting the standard yourself. And that's not power. That's not leadership. That's not confidence. So the next time someone ignores you, don't chase. Don't overanalyze. Don't sit around waiting for them to validate you. Instead, double down on yourself. Put that energy into something that makes you stronger, something that moves you forward. Because when you do that, you don't just become more attractive, you become unstoppable. When someone ignores you, it triggers something deep inside, that feeling of uncertainty, of rejection, of questioning whether you're enough. And if you're not careful, you'll start spiraling, wondering what you did wrong, what you should change, how you can prove your worth. But that's where most people go wrong. Because the second you make it about the other person, you've already given away your power. And in life, in relationships, in business, power is everything. The truth is, when someone ignores you, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. Maybe they're caught up in their own world. Maybe they're not in the right place emotionally. Maybe they just don't see the value you bring. And that's okay. Because it's not your job to convince anyone of your worth. It's your job to show up as the most powerful version of yourself, with or without their attention. Most people get stuck in reaction mode. They overthink, they chase, they try to force something that isn't meant to be. But here's what they don't realize. Attraction isn't about pursuit. It's about positioning. The people who command respect, who naturally draw others in, don't do it by seeking validation. They do it by being so locked into their purpose, their mission, their growth, that people want to be around them. Think about the people who inspire you. Do they sit around waiting for someone to notice them? They're busy, they're moving, they're focused. And that energy, that's what makes them magnetic. They don't chase, they attract. Because confidence isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about knowing your own worth so deeply that whether someone acknowledges you or not, it doesn't shake. That's where emotional mastery comes in, because most people let their emotions control them. They react out of fear, out of insecurity, out of the need to feel seen. But the moment you allow someone else's actions to dictate your emotions, you're no longer in control. And when you're not in control, you lose power. The key is to develop an unshakable mindset. A mindset that says, I don't need anyone to validate me. I don't need external approval to feel confident. I create my own certainty, my own success, my own value. And when you operate from that place, you become a force. You start moving differently, and people notice. Here's the irony. When you stop trying to get someone's attention, that's when they start giving it to you. Because confidence, certainty, and purpose are irresistible. But it only works if you truly believe it. If you're secretly hoping that by ignoring them back, they'll come running, you've missed the point. This isn't about playing games. It's about shifting your focus entirely. When someone ignores you, instead of reacting, redirect your energy. Take that frustration, that insecurity, and pour it into something productive, your health, your career, your passion. Become so focused on building yourself up that whether someone responds to you or not becomes irrelevant. And when you do that, something powerful happens. You stop needing people. You stop waiting for validation. You start moving through life with an energy that naturally draws the right people in. And that's the ultimate shift. From needing attention to commanding it. Not by chasing, not by proving, but by becoming. By stepping fully into your own power. By living in such a way that people can't help but take notice. Not because you begged for their time, but because you became someone worth noticing. The first instinct is to react. You start overanalyzing, questioning yourself, wondering what went wrong. You feel that sting of rejection, and it can shake your confidence if you let it. But that's the moment you need to stop and realize something powerful. This isn't about them. It's about you. It's about where your focus is and whether you're leading your life or waiting for validation. People who command respect, who attract naturally, who move through life with confidence, don't base their self-worth on whether someone acknowledges them. They don't seek validation. They create value. And that's the shift you need to make. Because when your energy is focused outward, when you're constantly looking for approval, you're in a state of neediness. And neediness is repellent. It doesn't matter how good-looking, successful, or charming you are. If your energy says, please notice me, please validate me, people will instinctively pull away. The solution? Shift your focus back to yourself. Stop making it about the other person. Stop trying to control things outside of your power. Instead, ask yourself, am I showing up as the most powerful version of me? Because when you become a person of value, when you're locked into your mission, when you're growing every day, you naturally attract people. Not because you're trying to, but because confidence, purpose, and self-respect are magnetic. When someone ignores you, the first instinct is to react. You start overanalyzing, questioning yourself, wondering what went wrong. You feel that sting of rejection, and it can shake your confidence if you let it. But that's the moment you need to stop and realize something powerful. This isn't about them. It's about you. It's about where your focus is and whether you're leading your life or waiting for validation. Because the second you start chasing someone's attention, you've already lost. People who command respect, who attract naturally, who move through life with confidence, don't base their self-worth on whether someone acknowledges them. They don't seek validation. They create value. And that's the shift you need to make. Because when your energy is focused outward, when you're constantly looking for approval, you're in a state of neediness. And neediness is repellent. It doesn't matter how good-looking, successful, or charming you are. If your energy says, Please notice me. Please validate me. People will instinctively pull away. The solution? Shift your focus back to yourself. Stop making it about the other person. Stop trying to control things outside of your power. Instead, ask yourself, am I showing up as the most powerful version of me? Because when you become a person of value, when you're locked into your mission, when you're growing every day, you naturally attract people. Not because you're trying to, but because confidence, purpose, and self-respect are magnetic. But most people never do this. They react emotionally, they get frustrated, they try harder. They think maybe if I just show her how much I care, she'll see my worth. That's not how attraction works. The more you chase, the faster people run. Because real confidence isn't about needing someone. It's about knowing you'll be just fine whether they're in your life or not. And when you truly believe that, everything changes. Emotional control is the key. If you let someone's attention, or lack of it, determine your mood, you're handing over your power. You're saying, my confidence is dependent on whether this person acknowledges me. That's not strength. Strength is saying, I control how I feel. I decide my worth. I dictate my own energy. And when you start thinking like that, you stop reacting to other people's behavior. You stop chasing. You stop needing. You start leading. And here's the irony. When you truly don't need someone, when you're too focused on your own growth, that's when they start noticing. People are drawn to confidence, certainty, and momentum, but you can't fake it. You can't pretend to be indifferent while secretly hoping they'll come back. You have to genuinely shift your mindset. You have to truly believe that your life, your mission, your purpose are too important to be put on hold for someone who isn't showing up for. And this isn't just about dating. This is about how you approach everything in life. If you're constantly seeking approval, whether in business, friendships, or relationships, you'll always be at the mercy of other people's opinions. But the moment you take control, the moment you say, I don't need anyone's validation to feel confident, you step into a whole new level of power. Ignores you, don't react, rise, don't chase, build. Pour your energy into becoming the best version of yourself, into something meaningful, into something that makes you better every single day. Because when you do that, you don't just attract the right people, you become unstoppable. It's easy to feel frustrated, confused, even disrespected. You start analyzing every interaction, replaying conversations in your head, wondering what you did wrong. That's where most people get stuck, trapped in a cycle of self-doubt, overthinking, and trying to force an outcome that was never in their control. But the truth is, this isn't about the other person. It's about you. It's about where you're placing your energy and whether you're living from a place of confidence or insecurity. Most people react, they feel ignored, so they try harder, they send another text, they overcompensate, they start changing their behavior in an attempt to win back attention. But what they don't realize is that the moment you start chasing, you lose power. You're telling yourself, my worth is dependent on whether this person acknowledges me. And that is a dangerous place to be, because real confidence, true, unshakable confidence, doesn't come from being noticed. It comes from knowing that whether someone pays attention to you or not, you're still moving forward. You're still growing. You're still valuable. At the end of the day, this isn't about someone ignoring you. It's about how you choose to respond. You can let it shake your confidence, make you question yourself, and pull you into a cycle of overthinking and chasing. Or you can take back your power. You can recognize that your value isn't defined by anyone else's attention, that your worth isn't something to be proven, but something to be owned. The strongest, most magnetic people don't seek validation. They create value. They don't react emotionally. They stay focused on their mission. They don't waste time chasing those who don't see their worth. They keep moving forward, knowing the right people will recognize it. That's the shift you need to make. The moment you stop looking for approval and start fully owning who you are, everything changes. So let this be your reminder. You don't need to be noticed to be valuable. You don't need to be acknowledged to be confident. And you don't need to chase to attract. Stay focused, stay strong, and let your actions speak for themselves. Because when you do that, you don't just gain attention, you command it. And that is real power. Thank you.